I'm John Wilson. I'm just old neighbor.
Oh, okay. You doing well? You doing well?
I'm doing, I don't know how well. I don't know if I'm doing as well as that young man is.
Check in the middle of the
Yes, sir, good to see you again. Pretty nice kind of young man that you were.
oh, man, I was getting money out. Thank you all for that compliment. I tried to get my old seat back, see what they had. No, he told me everything came with it. I declined. Pardon me?
Oh, no, frickin' crap.
Hey, buddy. How are you? You doing well?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Thanks for having us.
My turn a few minutes. You came last meeting, didn't get a chance to speak. If you want to sign up, make a comment.
I called our CTO and I said, how's this retirement shit working out? It ain't working out for me. Yeah. No, I just barely had time to get that.
Evening, sir. Good evening, sir. I'm doing good.
Kevin, I'm going to ask for an update on the low income.
I doubt that.
We've got a memo that I can send to you and we can talk about it too at maybe the work session.
So just say, I'm just going to put on computer.
Call this meeting to order. Tonight, the invitation will be done by Commissioner Gleason and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Albright. Commissioner Gleason.
Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us this beautiful day in Creedmoor today. Let us be mindful that our job is to take care of the citizens of Creedmoor and that we do so with your thoughts in mind. Let us enjoy again the coming of fall and continue to do the good work for our city. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we get further, please silence your cell phones. Also in the gallery, please do that.
All right, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Certainly. Commissioner Wilkins.
Present.
Commissioner Albright.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Kaczynski.
Present.
Commissioner Gleason. Commissioner Ray. Mayor Wheeler.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything, we're at the item 4, approval of agenda, is there anything needs to be added
Yes,
or
sir.
taken away?
Yes, sir, if I may.
Yes, sir, Mr. Wilkins.
Can we, flip-flop 10A with 10B and vice versa?
A and B,
Yes, sir,
just flip them.
please.
Okay.
And also, can we add an update from the city attorney on low-income housing? 9B, I guess.
Hang on just a second. I'm gonna make low-income housing 9B.
Mm-hmm.
Low-income housing.
Update.
And is there a particular reason for flipping A and B?
Yes, sir, I consider that to be the cart before the horse.
Okay,
I'd like to see it the other way.
all right, city manager.
The reason we put the budget amendment first is the board can't take action on the second item until the funds have been designated, allocated for that purpose.
We've had that issue before, because it doesn't make sense that but approving the money before you've got the other thing, but that is the way the finance director says it has to work.
So I guess then, should there be a 10B, 10C? Because again, I don't want to approve anything before I hear everything about it. So how can we work that out?
You could actually make another budget amendment to move it back if you decide not to do this contract with the little architect. It's kind of reversible, but in order for the board to authorize to enter into a contract, funds must have been allocated for that, and that's the purpose of that first step.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, please.
I think that's correct, is that we can always do a second budget amendment to move funds back into, general fund.
Okay, we leave it like it is.
Okay. Any other changes from that end? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of 9B for low-income housing.
So move.
Motion is made by Commissioner Way. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, let's see. Approve the agenda. Item 5 is a consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion is made by Commissioner Wilkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Consent agenda passes. Okay, let's see. We go to item 6, which is Granville County School Safety Update. Mr. Winborn and Mr. King.
Well, good evening. Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, and Administrative Team, thank you so much for having us tonight. My name is Dr. Stan Winborn. I'm the proud Superintendent of Granville County Public Schools. And joining me tonight is Mr. Keith King, our District Security Officer. And we thank you so much for allowing us to come tonight and share with you some updates about safety for Granville County Public Schools. Hopefully by now everyone knows that safety and security of our students and our staff is our absolute and number one priority. In our strategic plan, which we've developed, it is the top line. And above all else, that is really our duty. I've heard a phrase said that I'm trying to repeat. Education is our mission, but safety is our duty. And I strongly believe that. We've got to make sure that is front and center for all of us in Granville County Public Schools. And I am very appreciative of the action this board has taken to help support that, and through the work of your chief, Troy Willis, in making sure that we're keeping 3 of our schools very, very safe. Because of your work in annexing Mount Energy Elementary School and in covering the funds temporarily, hopefully, for an additional SRO, we have been able to expand the safety and security for our students in real, tangible ways. And I want to thank you for your leadership in that. I am working hard with the other municipalities to encourage the same. We recently spoke at the City of Oxford Commissioners meeting, and I'm working hard behind the scenes to try to get them to to join the ranks of providing officers for SRO positions in the City of Oxford. And we recently have added Butner Public Safety to our team as well, and hope to expand that. In a moment, I'll have Mr. King come up and share some more details about this work, but I'd like for you all to know that this past Friday, we hit the submit button to the state of North Carolina, asking for funding for 5 additional SROs. We currently receive state grant funds for 2. We're now asking for 7. And should those funds come through, we'll be redirecting that back into the pool and hoping to expand the total number of officers so we have one on every single campus. Yeah, absolutely. That's our goal, for sure. But again, thank you all so much for all that you've done and for allowing us to have this man join our team. I know he was such an asset to you in his previous role, but King, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you share some of the latest efforts we have within our schools to keep everybody safe.
We had nothing to do with you getting him, because if it was up to us, he would be with Troy. Then we'd get with Troy. And we'd have 2 chiefs, because we're both just as great.
You saved yourself pretty well there.
No, I would never let him go, or him either. And I could plan another party.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Board, Madam Clerk, Mr. Attorney, Mike, and the rest of the Creedmoor family. It's good to be back with you. I stand before you tonight in a great position because any homework assignments goes to that gentleman tonight, and I don't actually have to walk away with the homework assignment unless this gentleman gives them to me. When we spoke before the Oxford Board, and then City Manager Turner asked us to share the same information with you guys, we could talk about safety all night, and I know that you guys are not wanting to be here all night, so we tried to focus in on the bigger picture and the heavy lifts, because again, safety is an all-day, everyday task or duty, as the superintendent said. And if you look at the presentation before I jump into this, if you look at the top right-hand corner, we have to give credit to that organization. I love you guys as a nonprofit organization that came to us out of tragedy. The quote in the name of the foundation, "I love you guys," is the text, the last text of a young lady who died in a school shooting. That was the last text that she got to her parents. And they said, we've got to do things better, we've got to streamline things, we've got to make things uniform, we've got to make things efficient. So we can't take credit for the hard work that I Love You Guys Foundation has done, but they've given it to any public, private, or charter school throughout our nation to try to uniform and streamline procedures to keep our kids safe and make sure that we know what to do in emergency actions. So I just want to point out that point before we even get started and give credit where it's due. Next slide, Madam Clerk. So when I say streamline SRP, go back one for me. Yeah. When SRP standard says for Standard Response Protocol, and if you'll notice, the bottom 3 actions are not new to you guys. When we're training our staff now, we're all used to a lockdown. We know what a lockdown is supposed to do. We know what an evacuation is in the case of a fire drill or whatever it may be. We know what a shelter is, usually associated with weather. We're sheltering in place, securing our kids and everything. The only thing that really changes for the Standard Response Protocol is the first 2. And we'll talk about those real quickly, but what we learned was, through different districts and old habits dying hard, when someone would say lockdown or soft lockdown or community confinement, all these code red, code black from different districts, we learned that when we gain teachers or lose teachers or new students come along, new administrators are promoted, everybody had a confusion of what we're supposed to do. Unless it was those 3 things. Anything beyond that, people were confused, and we don't need confusion in an emergency. So what standard response protocol gave us was the hold and the secure. The hold is used by the principal to just say, hey, hold what you got. We're going to ignore the bells. We're going to ignore the class changes, specials, or whatever it may be in the school system, because we need to deal with something and we don't need the students in the hallway. That could be a medical emergency. That could be a fight. That could be any disruption, but it could be a canine search for that fact. We don't need our students integrating into the halls with whatever's going on. So the principal has total control of that. They call a hold by PA and they can release the hold by PA. And that's what a hold is. The second one that was added to this was the secure. And we've had this happen within Creedmoor under my tenure as chief, and I think Chief has had a couple of occasions, and we still had some of those old words creeping in from years back, and we were like, wait a minute, we need to put the school on lockdown. There's a bank robbery at PNC, or whatever it may be. Well, in essence, we just need to put the school on secure, because we just need to make sure the outside perimeter is locked and all our internal classes are locked, because there's no direct threat on the school at that point. And we reserve that lockdown for only an immediate intrusion or attempted intrusion to the school, if that makes sense. So far, I think we trained one-on-one with half of the schools within our district. We just adopted this, the board adopted it in May, I believe, and the new school year started in August, and we've already made it to about half of our school districts to have one-on-one training with our principals, admin, and they actually have a new video out for our kids to kind of simplify the lockdown procedures and make sure they have an understanding of what to expect. That's very important, because if we wait to the day of an emergency, that's the definition of chaos, right? That is exactly what's going to happen if we wait to introduce these things in. So I can pause there for a minute. Any questions about these 5 actions?
Under evacuate, do we have, or in shelter, do we have a particular location that these folks are going to go to?
Each school has their own safety plan, and their safety team has to designate where they would evacuate to, and that's in a general evacuation, not a lockdown reunification evacuation.
Right.
Just in a general evacuation, they have evacuation in rally points that they would go to.
Well, in Creedmoor, can you tell me where they?
This is simple to, now you're talking about general evacuation, right? They would just rally on campus. On a district reunification, we wouldn't release those until the day of, at the point of, because if we told that in advance, that could give somebody an idea to have 2 attacks, or it could put the parents in the site before the site's ready to put the kids back with the parents. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, we do have particular sites that are sufficient to hold and protect
we do.
this amount of students or teachers.
And we're actually re-examining those and the MOUs that have been in place to update those. And you actually might be getting a request, since you have that beautiful community center, that in an emergency, we might have to talk with you in the future if that would be something is even feasible. Could it do it? But those are reviewed, and they need to be reviewed this year as far as MOUs and adequate spacing and geographic locations to make sure we're not sending South Granville High School to reunify north of Oxford and vice versa.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions at this point?
Yes, sir.
So these are done by PA, they're not,
All of these can be activated by PA, and when we get into the next slides, we have another way to activate some other emergency responses. But yeah, and all of these, while we're talking about those, all of those can be released by PA except for the lockdown. The lockdown has to be cleared by administrative professionals along with the assistance of law enforcement. Even in the drill, it has to be released by administrative professionals and law enforcement. All right. Next slide. Okay, and the next thing, what you were just saying, this is a new app that Motorola developed this app for the state, and it was given to all the public schools. And this app is the Raise Panic Button app, and you can see the activations that are there. All of our teachers and administrators now have this on every campus. It's on their phone. We do know it works. We were doing the training within the first few weeks of rollout, and when I told the staff to set the phone down and not press any more buttons, somebody got energetic and pressed the top button. And within minutes, Dr. Winborn had an activation, 911 had an activation, and I had about 12 deputies coming to us because we were at a school within the county jurisdiction. But the good thing is we know it works. And you can look at the activations that are up there. Obviously, we hope never use the active assailant but you've got fire, medical, police, and otherwise. And then if you'll notice in the very bottom, there's a staff assist. Once that's activated, those principals can communicate with those teachers and with those staff members that need assistance and can get updates without having to trying to find a radio. Does that teacher have a phone in the room? Does that teacher have a mobile radio? It can all be done here, and it also can be done in silent mode if you were in an active assailant situation. You don't need somebody to hear where your location is and where you're talking. And if they really can't type, they can go to the status right-hand corner button, and they can do red for still in danger, yellow for marginal or cautionary, or green, I'm good. I'm no longer at threat. So just some of the functions of that. It works. We've used it several times for medical emergencies. And what we'll point out is on the next slide, this is what 911 sees. And if you'll notice, it geofences and drops a pin exactly where the actual threat or the actual medical emergency is. They get that live notification on their control desk, and they're able to communicate directly with the person under threat if they can verbally talk or whatever's going on. So it's not third-hand information funneled back to a radio through the front office assistant. It's one-on-one information with the person who's in medical need or where the fire is actually threatening our structure or our students or in an active assailant. It tells them exactly where to send law enforcement. So that's what our 911 sees. And we have district auditors, and the chief designates part of his staff. Any alert at any campus, district auditors get notifications. So they know if additional law enforcement, mutual aid was needed, he would immediately know what he needed to send or what he needed to offer to send to another jurisdiction to help in a law enforcement situation. Any questions about raids, yes, sir?
I know we have the greatest dispatchers in Granville County here in Creedmoor. But all our 911 calls from here go to the county 911 center? 911
goes to, then this goes to.
But that would go to the county first?
Yes, sir, because it has to be a PSAP.
Thank you. Yep.
That's good. Telecommunication location, so that's where that would go. But they're immediately gonna broadcast it on our channel. They're immediately gonna get on the Creedmoor channel, start that, and then Creedmoor could take over, obviously. But this is live, immediate.
Mayor Pro Tem.
So I know that we have a broadband issue in the southern end of the county. My concern is this is Wi-Fi, internet, broadband based. You know, in a weather emergency, those systems can go down. And then do the teachers know we go back to the old school and communicate that way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is just a system of redundancy. This gives them another option, but they know their safety plans if this is not available.
But this is first choice?
This is direct.
Okay.
This is direct. There's zero delay in this.
Okay.
I mean, I believe that your call for Granville Central, before I could call 911 and tell them it was a false alarm, Dr. Winborn was on the phone with Dr. Allen going, do you have a threat? Within 10 seconds or less. And 911 is already telling me, hey, we're getting a report, Granville Central High School Media Resource Center. The only thing it couldn't tell us was first floor or second floor. But they can now see the overlays for both floors.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a great tool, and it's already been useful in medical emergencies, thankfully. That's it. We don't want anything else. We don't want those, but we definitely don't want anything else.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Next up, yeah. Questions for you guys.
So, based on the whole presentation, is there any questions?
Excellent job.
I love technology.
Well, again, thank you so much. I also want to thank Board of Education member, Mrs. Danielle Hayes, who's here tonight. Our board has been instrumental in pushing this priority forward too, making sure that resources are there, showing their full support. So thank you, Ms. Hayes. Appreciate you for all you do.
And Ms. Hayes, we appreciate the work you do on the Board of Education. And Dr. Winborn, I apologize for not recognizing you as Dr. Winborn. If I have chest pains, I'll call you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, let's see. All right. Request to address the board. Mr. McCree. Mr. McCree, if you'll state your full name and your address, and then the floor is, for the record, and then the floor is yours.
John McCray, 2543 Highway 56, CREEDMOOR, North Carolina.
And if you could speak up a little more.
CREEDMOOR, North Carolina.
There you go. All right, sir, you have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. First of all, I would love for all of y'all to join my team, and I'm trying to work, as I was talking to the mayor earlier about a project at 2543 Highway 56, about 25 acres of land, and about a natural grass filter watershed runoff project there as well. So as that would also add a nice feeding ground for the deers, because 3/4, this is it on the map of it. As you can see, 3/4 of it is surrounded by wildlife, and I don't have the pictures with me. I had sent them to the mayor.
And I have them, but they're in a different folder, but I can make sure everybody gets a copy of them.
It's a big natural water basin down below the land, just below this project. It's running into this water basin. Also, this shows some of the water veins that's running through and below the land, such as Robinson Creek, and all of them runs into this water basin. By doing a grass filter, water filter for the rainwater, say 10 acres or 14 acres or something, it would allow a lot more water to continue to go to this water basin. 1994 and 95 was when I got this land. And this water basin reached it's about, I guess, a third of it down compared to what it used to be, when it was fields and grass where it could get water. I got a piece of document stating that one oak tree full grown drinks 40 gallons of water a year.
Mr. McCray, you have 1 minute.
Okay. And before COVID, we had most of the big trees removed and whatnot. And we had serious help of finishing this project off, such as equipment, seed, a real hand in bringing it about. I carried it a long ways, but it's going to take help to really get it all the way done, and a way of providing for it in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
And please join my team.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it, and we will look into that for you. All right, let's see. That goes there. That was public. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's see. Public comment we got. Old business with our next item. That is weed 9A, reducing civil penalty policy and authorizing city attorney to begin legal action on the notice violations. City attorney.
Good evening, everyone.
So I apologize for the flurry of emails and revisions about this. Hopefully you all have received the V5 by email. This is the civil penalty reduction resolution that we talked about, I believe, last month, delegating authority to the city manager to negotiate the reduction or waiver of civil penalties for certain violations of the city code under certain circumstances. So this policy that you have hopefully in front of you, or that you've at least had a chance to look at, would allow the city manager to waive civil penalties up to $2,500 for violations of the city's nuisance ordinance. It would allow the city manager to reduce by up to 50% civil penalties amounting up to $5,000. Anything over that would have to come back to this board for approval. So if somebody racked up $5,001 in civil penalties, the city could still reduce that or waive it if this board wanted to, but that decision would need to be made by this board, not the administrative level. This also gives the city manager the authority to negotiate payment plans for the payment of civil penalties, provided that the term of the payment plan is not longer than 12 months. So the city would be assured of receiving full payment in a 12-month period. This also includes kind of a template payment agreement. It's similar to the ones that we've used in the past. I've made some revisions to it, lessons that I think we've learned. And so that would be included in this package. It would also obligate the city attorney's office to review that agreement before anything is executed. But it would allow the city manager to negotiate the terms of that sort of agreement with the violator, which hopefully will give the city manager and city staff a little bit more flexibility when they're dealing with these kind of situations, rather than having to wait for us to come back to the board and civil penalties continue to accrue in the meantime. I think delegates authority to city staff to try to work with individuals who are deserving of a little bit of leniency under the circumstances. And again, I'll reiterate that this policy would not prevent the city from entering into an agreement or taking action on civil penalties that are not specifically delegated here. It's just anything other than what is specifically authorized by this policy, we have to come back to this board for approval. So, I'm happy to answer or try to answer any questions that y'all might have, if you have them.
Commissioner Way, any questions?
No, sir, I reviewed it. It's well drawn out. I believe it covers all of our bases.
Commissioner Gleason?
No, sir.
Commissioner Wilkins?
No, sir, I read it. Well done.
Commissioner Albright?
No question.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No, sir.
All right, that went through a lot smoother than I thought it might. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the reduction civil penalty policy that our city attorney just outlined.
All right. Motion is made by the Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Kevin.
Kevin, thank you, sir. All right, we move to 9B, low-income housing against city attorney.
Sure. So, unfortunately, I don't have a real detailed update for you all this evening. What I do have is a memorandum. One of our firm's associates did, I think, a fairly comprehensive research project into the types of public housing that other municipalities in this general geographic area use. I think the general conclusion is that the city certainly has the authority to enact public assistance or public housing programs. I think that there are not a whole lot of examples of similarly sized municipalities that offer kind of robust programs of this type, and so we might kind of be, if the board chooses to to enact some sort of program. We might not be blazing a trail here, but I think that there are, quite a few different programs that offer, helpful public assistance that we could, at least try to kind of scale for Creedmoor's needs. And what I'll do, is tomorrow morning when I get back to the office, I will put this memo into a PDF format and I'll email it to the board so that you all have a chance to review it. And then perhaps we can have that as a discussion item.
Work session.
At the work session if the board would like to discuss it at that point.
I would.
If there, do any of the ones that you were talking about relate to, how would they be funded? Through grants or taxes or?
So there are quite a few different ways that it could be funded. Taxes are certainly an option. We can use the federal CDBG grant program. I think that there are quite a few strings that are attached to that, so that would have, if that's how we choose to fund the program, at least in significant part, there would be a lot of different hoops that we'd have to jump through in terms of how we'd structure the program. But we can get state grants, federal grants, tax dollars, all can be used, provided that we have a program that provides a public service.
Now, would all this be new housing, or could it also be renovating old housing?
I think the answer is both, or all of the above. So I think there is pretty broad authority for local governments to provide assistance, either through the direct provision of housing, through the provision of grants or funds for the renovation of existing housing, or through incentives to affordable housing developers to develop and build affordable housing within the community. So there are a lot of different ways I think that we could structure the program. It would, I think, largely be up to what the board feels like will fit the community's needs, and frankly, I think what we can do with the resources available.
And there wouldn't be an issue as provide for one, provide for all.
Well, I think that the idea is that if we have, again, I'm going to give you the lawyer's answer that I know this board really loves, but I think the answer is it depends. I think that if we choose to create like a affordable housing grant program administered by the city, then that would be kind of a first come, first served basis. That could be on a first come, first served basis. It could also be on kind of like a qualification basis, right? So we would create like a scoring metric for affordable housing projects. And then, applicants would have a certain deadline to submit applications. We would grade or score those applications, and then the top, 10 or however many applicants would receive city grants. Would
family income weigh into any of this, or is that one of those things that you would put into the program?
And I think so I think in a lot of cases, municipal authority to provide housing assistance becomes the restrictions on the use of public funds become a little bit more flexible when we are dealing with individuals who meet or I guess fall below a certain income threshold, a certain area. So I think that would certainly be one of the metrics, and again, that would depend, I think, a lot on how we choose to structure the program.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
So, the county has a program for, this already, and it's still, no matter what we approve or whatever program we set up, the most important thing is the application must be submitted by the applicant. The city would never fill out the application for an applicant. They would have to be the one to apply, am I correct?
That's certainly true. I mean, I can't say for certain that city staff won't assist in that. I mean, I'm sure that happens with development applications all the time, where an individual comes in and wants to know how to fill out a rezoning petition,
right,
for example.
And we could give direction and assistance, but we wouldn't do it for them.
Right. I think that it would likely happen very.
I'm concerned about staffing, that's why I'm asking.
Right, I think there would be a similar thing, if somebody came in with an application, presumably city staff would be authorized to walk an individual through, what information, you need, how you go about getting that information, where it goes on the form, but obviously the applicant and, the property owner, to the extent that the owner is different from the applicant, would all need to sign the application form.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gleason. Commissioner Way?
I'll discuss in the discussion session.
Okay. Commissioner Albright, any questions?
I guess my question would be, there's a difference between affordable housing and low-income housing, I would think, right?
Well, I think it'll...
Because currently, currently in this economy, or whatever you want to call it, there is no affordable housing. In Granville County, there is no houses available under $300,000. So low income or affordable housing, I think, is a broad kind of spectrum.
I think the term low income housing does have kind of an objective definition. I think typically, and I might be getting this wrong here, but typically it means property owned or housing, owned or rented by an individual who makes less than, I think it's typically 80% of the AMI, adjusted the area median income. I think the term affordable housing, on the other hand, is a lot more subjective. And that, I think, comes from state and federal definition, the low income housing. I think that the affordable housing term is typically a lot more subjective, and that is used locally and might mean different things depending on the ordinance the ordinance or the policy or program that it's used under. I think, again, it's entirely up to this board and what the goals and objectives of the policy would be, but I certainly think that would be something that's wise to put into a program, and that the objective is to benefit those who meet kind of the objective definition of low to moderate income. Make sure that we are not that we are filling an actual need rather than just creating more unaffordable housing,
right,
but that's slightly less unaffordable than the existing housing stock. I would assume that the goal would be to make sure that those who just who don't meet the area median income targets have the opportunity to own and live in a safe and adequate home.
Okay, Commissioner Wilkins, any questions or comments?
No questions. Look forward to receiving the document and discussing it at the next work session.
If you don't receive it from me first thing tomorrow morning, don't.
I'm good.
You are more than welcome to prompt me.
I'm good. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. We move now to make sure I get everything straight here. New business budget amendment for Little. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, I give my apologies for tonight on behalf of Lee Fames. He was unable to be with us. His spouse had a medical emergency, was transported from Henderson to Raleigh, so they're dealing with an emergency, and I told him not to be concerned with this. I'd take care of his item tonight. So there's been several meetings up to this date with a little architectural firm regarding the PD project. They have identified the scope of work for the project, and they've cost out their estimated, based on the scope of work we've got, they've cost out the project, which you're going to hear about in just a few minutes. But Lee wanted to present this item this evening because budget amendments are required before you can actually award contracts. So budget amendment number 2 is to appropriate $405,000 from the general fund to capital projects funds for a Little Diversified Architect Consulting Firm in regards to the City Hall expansion. And the breakdown for that is pre-design services, $28,25,800, basic services, $364,000, reimbursables, $15,000, and for a total of $404,800 with a $200 roundup is how we arrived at the $405,000. So this is necessary before you're going to be able to award the contract to Little if you choose to do that. So.
All right, I'm going to start with the Mayor Pro Tem. Any questions?
Mr. City Manager, for stepping in for Lee. I have a problem with this number, considering the fact that we did a design program with this company for a different building, but pretty much the same stuff once before. The geographic study was done, the ground study was done. We got to textures and interior surfaces with this person, or with this company, and I feel the difference of $100,000 after everything we went through the first time. I know it's a different scenario. It's structure C, which is a smaller building. I just think it should be lower for the pre-designed services and the reimbursables and the base services, because we've gone all through this stuff before, on a different scale with a different design. I understand all that. But I just think to come in only $100,000 lower than what we've already paid, I think it's too high. That's just my opinion. I'm glad we found a different scenario, but I just think it's too high.
Do we have anybody that could address that?
Well, I'll speak to it
Please.
first. And Commissioner, you're exactly right. It's an entirely different project and an entirely different scope. A lot of work has been gone into this by this firm. It's saving us time and money to go back with this firm. Otherwise, we'd have to put the project out or services out for a request for qualifications and go through that selection process, which would take months of time and delay the project.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Wilkins, any questions?
Mayor Pro Tem was much more eloquent than I would have been, so I'll pass on.
Okay, Commissioner Albright.
I guess I kind of feel the same way as the Mayor Pro Tem does. And I realize that it's a new project and going forward with something else. My concern is, as it has been in the past, is with recouping the money and putting money in our piggy bank instead of continuing to remove money from our piggy bank. I'd like to know, I guess further down the road with Lee, maybe asking him, how we recoup some of this money. Because, we did talk about the taxes and things, in the coming years, and I just think I need a little bit more time to think about this project.
All right.
Commissioner Albright, if I may respond.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Albright, in next month, October is the meeting, you're going to hear back from Davenport, who has put together this financial position that we're in. I think you're going to be very pleased with the financial status that the city's in, and they're going to provide a lot of details, I think, to give you a good feeling about where we are with no debt. And he has no reservation about us having any problems of financing the 3.5 or 2.5 and putting $1 million down on this project. So, anyway.
Okay.
Something to look forward to.
Commissioner Gleason.
Again, I want to move forward with this. But I kind of wish that when we talked about this originally, we would save money by sticking with them because they already did a lot of stuff. And they already did a lot of stuff, and they're probably going to use a lot of stuff that they already did. But they should have maybe put a list of things that they already did that we would be charged for had they not done it previously and we paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. That would have just made it easier for me. Other than that, I want to move forward with this.
Commissioner Way.
The price is a little steep for me, for a company that we've already dealt with. I mean, as Mayor Pro Tem said, it's only $100,000 less than what we did the last time. And that was for a whole new building and a whole different project.
Well, I think one of the areas that we look at too is kind of like Sigwassa, where it was $35 million and we got $35 million, and then all of a sudden it's $75 million. So that, you know, prices have gone up and all this stuff. But it does make me a little uncomfortable. We're paying $405, and that's just for planning, not for construction or anything else with that. Commissioner Wilkins.
I think what the entire board is saying, we're trying to be fiscally responsible here. But that being said, I'm all for the project, and if you would allow, I'd like to make the motion to approve, sir.
All right. Any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor to approve by Commissioner Wilkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? No. Motion passes 3-2. If I heard that correct.
You did.
All right, we move on now to, the contractual agreement, 10B. Again, I believe that's Mr. Frangos. As always, Mr. Frangos, it's good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be seen. Good evening.
And not viewed.
Not viewed, right. I'm vertical. Still standing. Thank you, tonight. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for the budget amendment. But I want you all to know it's just a budget, right? Like we always talk about, a budget is just putting that money in place. We haven't spent it. We haven't allocated it directly to anything. It's preparing us to make this next decision. And I like the fact that y'all see this as an important decision because I think it's true. We had I won't call it a false start because we had a really strong start the last time. We had a weak ending, let's say, right? We weren't able to carry that thing across the finish line, but I think everybody in this room knows that it's a hugely important project, right? Expanding our PD, giving them the space that they need, and I'm saying this selfishly, getting my department into this building, I think is huge. It's important for the team to succeed. And that's what we're trying to get at. Nobody wants to waste money. Nobody wants to throw money around frivolously. But I think the reality is things cost more. 2 years ago, we got a price that, today would be a lot more than it was then. And I don't think we could compare project 2 years ago to project today because they really are very, very different. Surveying certainly will carry over. Existing conditions, mostly still the existing conditions that are out there. But from then on, everything else is different. The grading of the site, the idea of how we were preparing a whole separate building and a building pad and parking areas and all these things, it's different from what it is today. So yes, we gained the knowledge of the team, right? Little's team and the subcontractors they're trying to assemble here are a lot of the same talent that we had the first go around, and that's where we're going to gain our advantage. But certainly it doesn't come free, and certainly the hourly rates have gone up in the last 2 years, and that's unfortunately what we're battling. And I don't want you all to be confused I don't think even construction is going to be cheaper than it would have been 2 years ago. I think, quite frankly, construction costs, material costs, all of those things have continued to go up. So if you think we're going to get a discount for having been back here the second time, that ain't this project. I'm sorry to say it that way, but the truth is that today is new. We're going at this with a new amendment here for design services for an expansion of City Hall, for a renovation project that we're trying to dovetail as carefully as we can into the existing renovation project that we had been considering. And then, of course, all of the site improvements and overall work that has to be done to maximize parking, ADA accessibility, and all the other site improvements that we have in mind. Now, I got this agreement just about a day before you all got it. So honestly, we did get a chance to dig deeply into every detail, and Ann Nebo, who is here from Little, will be able to answer your questions. She and I had about a half an hour conversation earlier today on a few certain things that we wanted to explore further. There was some carryover in this proposal from the project 2 years ago. Did a little cut and paste, Mayor Pro Tem Kaczynski, I know that's your favorite thing, right? You do a cut and paste, then you leave last year's date on it. and he's screwed it up. Well, not that they screwed it up, but they left some things in from the last project that we excluded this time around. So there's a few little things like that that we're going back and forth on to make sure that the expectations that we have match the proposal that they're providing us. I'm not saying the price is going to go down. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that there's a few things that we need to focus on and be sure that we're getting right. Now, Little is the same. Little Diversified Architecture is the same firm. Charlie was our past architect, but now Ann is obviously taking over that project manager role. Cunity might be a new name for you, but Jael Wagoner should not be. Jael was with SEPI last time around, so Jael is very familiar with CREEDMOOR and understands, you know, the scope of our project. So they're I don't call them the main sub, but they're the principal here for civil engineering, site and survey work. So they're included in here, and of course there are a few things that we need to adjust, but you know, in general, they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the site and the work done. So that's Cunity as subcontractor number one of Little. Then there's Thorburn Associates, which this is one of the ones we needed to work on a little bit because they had in their proposal some items about the commissioner's chambers and acoustics and some of the other audio-visual changes that we had in our last project, which we are leaving out. This is your room now. Enjoy it, right? This is the new TVs, the video, and all that is the way that we've done it. So we've done it without the architect firm, and this room will not be included in the renovation. And then the last sub, Palacio, is really, I think, invaluable because they're the estimating firm. They're the ones who are going to give us the real number. They're going to give us dollar figures down to the detail of the component, you know, that they're pricing. And for better or for worse, they're going to tell us the truth of the costs that we're looking to incur. And I think last go around, when we saw their second estimate is when everybody started realizing, wow, you know, this project became bigger than we were able to handle. So we're certainly mindful of that and hoping not to go there at this point. But in total, before you tonight, is this package. It is for just the city of Creedmoor and Little to enter into an agreement, and just to be clear, all of the other subcontractors are really Little's problem. They are not answering to us. We are not paying them directly. They handle that. But that's why we just have to be square on some of the expectations and the details that have been written out there in their proposal. So, long story short, we still want this project, right? Staff still wants it. I think this board still wants it, and we need to get to it. But certainly, we don't have a lot of the details in place. Not even, you know, the details of square footage or of floor planning or even site planning. You know, we have a general idea, but none of that has been put on paper. Obviously, Little hasn't expended any professional work hours up till now on this. So in order for us to move forward, we need tonight's decision to enable them to proceed. But if there are items in this agreement that you would like them to further take a look at and maybe change, well, now's the time to bring them up. Because Ann is here to answer those questions. So I'm going to turn it over to her, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if there's anything more she might want to add.
Would you like to leave space for questions, or?
Yes, ma'am. Just come to the podium and introduce yourself, and then we'll ask questions. And first, present any information you may want to, then we'll ask questions.
All right. Good evening. My name is Ann Lebo. I'm a project manager with Little. We're based out of Durham, North Carolina. The only thing I want to add on to what Mike so eloquently said is a point about certainty and value. And I know you've probably had this discussion before, and we'll probably continue to have it again. To get some of the information you probably want, we need a little bit more certainty, and to make sure we're providing the best value, we want to make sure that we're giving you the right answers. We've broken the pre-design and the basic services out based on what we think the scope of the project is, so that we can help validate that in phases for you, so that we don't jump, you know, as our city manager said, too far into spending money, even though it's been authorized towards the project. I'll stop there.
Okay. Commissioner Wilkins, any questions?
None, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem.
So, it's nice to meet you. Welcome. When I pulled the CEPI documents months ago, to realize that the police department does need a bigger space, and I found concept 2 that could give them 4,800 additional square feet. What it says, addition program, 4,800 square feet. Spoke to the police chief, and we realized that 4,800 was pretty good, and he could do it with that. Keeping it as an extension of one building rather than going with the 2-story. The last project we had, I'm sure you've been told, was a project that started here, and as the meetings went, it was here and here, and every time it came to the board, there was more stuff, but we were all only told $4 million at the beginning. And with all the additions and all the changes that had been made, nobody ever said to us, it is going to cost you more money, and when the bottom line came in, and it was $9 million, we're going, what happened to $4 million? Where'd it go? I would like to see, and I'm going to tell you this right now because I want to make sure that somebody hears it on the record. Right now, this building has a break room for the police, a break room for the administrator. I want 1 break room. Community development, police. I don't need 3 break rooms. There's no need for us to do 3 break rooms. Unless the chief can tell me that it's not going to work, that the police have to have their separate one, but that's a conversation not for tonight. When I got into the CEPI documents from the last time, the red book that we were given, the documents from, it says Little, but it was CEPI. On page 13 of 133, the square footage that it was versus what it will be didn't add up to the 4,800 square feet additional that's showing in this design. And when we are discussing the price of this project and we break it down to price per square foot, it needs to be all 48, he needs all 4,800 square feet. He can't.
Got it.
I think I got to 4,300 square feet when I added things up. And on one of the charts, it showed City Hall, Police Department, Support Services, circulation for the lobbies and the corridors and stuff like that. And when it all added up, it said additional, new space, the Delta number, it was way under 4,800 square feet. So it's got to add up and it's got to make sense, because if we end up with 4,600 square feet and we think we're paying, this is a ridiculous number, and when we think we're paying $100 a square foot for 4,800 square feet and we only get 4,600 square feet, I got a problem with that.
Sure.
So I want to make sure that all the numbers and all the square footage, that in that document, it showed that we were cutting space out of City Hall. And that bothered me. Our City Hall staff is good with the space that they have, and I don't think that they can afford to cut back 127 square feet. Maybe they can, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, which probably is true. But I want to make sure that when this project is done, it's going to last us for at least 10 years, because this city can't afford to do this over and over again.
Understood. I'd just like to address a couple of your points. This diagram that you've probably seen as part of our proposal was dated, 2022.
Right.
So my assumption, and what we've included in the proposal, is a range of a project that needs to be between 4,000 and 5,000 square feet of the addition, not including the portion that's needed for the renovation to this building in particular. But that tells me that we also don't have a true test of what the estimate of this project is going to come back at and what your budget needs to be. And I think that's the most important first step. If we can get that list right, we lay it out, we get all of the extra numbers correct, including the circulation and all the mechanical spaces, we don't come to you with any unknowns on square footage, and we don't come to you with any unknowns or scope creep and increasing that over 5,000 square feet. My assumption is that you'll be able to tell me that, yes, we can afford this project. This is what our budget needs to be. This is what we need to provide for the city hall and for the police department in order to make sure we are successful for the next 10 years. So I think, I'm sorry.
Is that your belly?
Yes.
I have a bag of chips if you'd like them.
And that's what I thought, that the square footage that was in that chart in that booklet might have been approximate, not actual.
Yes, I think that is correct. I think we have done a lot of work in the past that gets us close to the right answer, but I do not think we have the right answer today. And I think that's another part of what Mike and I talked about regarding exactly how to define the scope in this proposal, which is give you enough information to let you authorize us to move forward, while knowing that we still have some items to validate and make sure that we can get approval for those specific items and then not deviate from them later on. So my last point is, and in order to do that, part of, and you may not appreciate this, I know how you all feel about the cost of this proposal, we are offering you an expedited schedule. And my assumption with that is that it will take us less time to design this revised project because of what we do already know about everything. We are going to combine the early phases of design so that by the time we get our next estimate later this year, we have more accuracy rather than doing little steps and more estimates along the way where we have room for error in what that growth of development might be. And we can further anticipate what some of those things are. We know that there is grant money being given to the city, and making sure that we adequately partition what projects are going to be done by the city, where that value lies, where it's better for you all to take responsibility for things that you don't need us involved in. You can save money on that side, and that's stuff that we won't include in our project scope, and that we can make sure it's not in this proposal, but we do need to take a couple of baby steps first before we can start.
Thank you very much. We're not getting anything in the boardroom? Not new carpeting, not new anything? Okay.
I think that's one of those items that you guys are gonna do.
That's it, that's on us.
That's a different project. Commissioner Albright, any questions?
I do have one question. In your packet on page 34, there is about halfway down, it's basic services. And it has a total of $364,000 there. Now, is that included in the $404,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then where does the rest of the money for that $404,000 come from?
I believe, the 25.8 for the pre-design, plus.
It's in the budget amendment.
Yeah.
Plus all your, reimbursements.
15,000 on the reimbursables.
Okay, okay.
And that would take us all the way through the construction closeout of the project.
Okay.
One of the things we often recommend, and we see happen all the time, I'm sure you're familiar with this as well, is authorization by phase, move forward, as long as you all are comfortable with the project. We did that last time, we stopped us at 60% PDs, we said, hey, we're not spending any more money on this. This road is not the road we want to go down, let's make sure we're getting it right. We do the same thing this time, in that when we start a phase, we require your authorization to do so, and then pay it.
Mr. Way?
Mr. Frangos, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, did we have some money still set aside in an account? that we were working on with this, we didn't move it back to general fund? I thought we still had some.
No, I think we closed it when we closed the project. I think the project kind of closed and whatever's left goes back to the general fund.
Okay.
This is a new project.
Do we remember how much was left when we closed it by chance?
Over $100K.
Was
So I think we,
it 60?
sorry?
140 or 160 something?
Something like that, that might have been unspent from the first go round.
Thank you.
Mr. Gleason?
Thank you for the information. Again, projects are projects. Police stations, firehouses, water plants. And this is the first $364,000, which I'm sure you wouldn't say to me, and that's it. Because it's not gonna be it. But the sooner we start at it, the less it's gonna be. I can guarantee you that. So I would look to move forward on this.
I was just told this morning that mechanical equipment is going up in December.
Mr.
Oh, 2025.
Mr. City Manager?
I've got an email, the outstanding finance director we have must be watching us because he sent me a text to share with y'all.
Bless him.
He said it's important to share with y'all the fact that the entirety of this project includes something you haven't experienced before, which drives the cost up a little bit, and that is the full project management of the project and the closeout of the project, which are costs we didn't have in the other $480,000. So it's not apples with apples on what we're doing last time, what we're doing this time. There's extra costs that's added on top of this that was not in the other project. And it would have been a lot more if you had not put it on hold. Yes, sir. So anyway, Lee asked me to share that with y'all.
Okay, is there any other questions? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Little Architect contractual agreement.
Okay, motion is made by Commissioner Wilkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I don't believe I heard.
Yeah, you didn't get an aye. All right.
Okay, I need to know,
Aye.
okay?
Aye.
Okay, so it was full five, okay. It wasn't the usual volume that I hear. All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mayor Wheeler.
Thank you.
Okay, 10C, Contracted Cleaning Services Agreement. Mr. Turner.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, on September the 6th, 2022, the city entered into a cleaning contract with Corner Clean Services for regular cleaning of four city buildings: City Hall, Community Center, Community Development, and Public Works. That 22 contract totaled $50,912 per year for a 2-year term. The current contract will expire on September 30th, 2024. A request for proposals was sent out to 17 contracted cleaning vendors, with a response due date of August the 9th, 2024. The city received 4 responses, one from Corner Clean, 360 Clean, F&W Cleaning, and JM Capital. The attached bid tabulation sheet reflects the proposals from each one of those firms. The lowest responsible bidder was Corner Clean Services, with a total bid of $53,939. Corner Clean is a certified North Carolina minority and/or women-owned business enterprise vendor. The price increase from 2022 to 2024 represents a 3% CIP or CPI, general increase of $1,527, and an increase of $1,500 annually for the contractor to provide the specialty floor cleaning machine, for a total increase between the 22 price and the 24 price of $3,027. Funding for the cleaning services was approved in the FY25 budget. The contract has been reviewed by the city attorney, and with the concurrence of the board, a motion would be in order to recommend approval to award this contract for $53,939.92.
All right, Commissioner Gleason, any questions?
No questions, and I'd make a motion to approve it.
All right.
I had a question.
Yeah, I got you. Commissioner Way, any questions?
I'm glad that we're sticking with the same people that we've been using, and the only thing I have is for Mr. Turner is, have you had any issues with the company? Have they been responsive to anything that you've asked?
Yes, sir, they have.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All I needed to know.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No question.
Commissioner Wilkins.
My question is similar to Commissioner Way. Mr. City Manager, are you happy with their service?
Yes, sir, we are.
I have nothing else.
Commissioner Albright.
No, sir, I have no questions.
All right, let's see, let me get to where I'm supposed to be. Bear with me just a minute here. All right, at this time, Commissioner Gleason has made a motion to approve the city manager's recommendation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, City Manager.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, we move now to the STEML agreement. Mr. Frangos.
I think this will be easy. We are very happy and satisfied with the work STEML performs for us. They are our stormwater experts. They had previously been working with us through the interlocal agreement with Granville County. It's been 12 years that we've been upholding the Falls Lake rules since they were adopted in June of 2012. 12 and a half years, I guess. So we have been working with STEML all along since then. They came to us in a package deal with Raftellus, I know one of our favorite other subcontractors. But Granville County is interested in getting out from in between the city and STEML. So what this agreement does is essentially bring STEML into a direct relationship with the city regarding all manner of stormwater review services. And their services are included in this package as attachment A. And then also, if you flip the page, Appendix A is the hourly rates. So the real reason we're doing this, and I'll just be frank in this regard, 12-year-old rates had been included with the old agreement, and they had never changed under the contract with Granville. These are updated hourly rates that we'll have with STEML.
So they're the same rate?
No.
Have wishful thinking.
I just thought I'd throw it out there, I was just looking for something good.
No. The only thing good here is Kevin did the contract, right? And the terms are favorable, I'm sure, to the city.
Yep, this is a standard at least one other jurisdiction that our firm represents has also been working on a similar contract, and so this is something that we do not have to reinvent the wheel here on this. It's a standard contract, one that I think we're comfortable with.
Oh, we get a discount then.
That's right.
From the lawyer, we'll get a discount.
That's right, we get a discount from the lawyers work on it. That's nice. Good.
And obviously, I mean, just to say it here on camera with everybody listening, we have been 100% satisfied with STEML and the work that they provide to us on time, always very thorough and efficient with their reviews, super prompt to respond to me. If I send an email, I get an answer from them, and it's always right. They are the resource that we go to. So there is no question of the quality of engineering services we get from them. And certainly my recommendation would be to continue.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Wilkins.
Frankos, how much or what percentage has the rate increased?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. I don't know what the old rates were. I just know they were less than the new rates. I'm sorry. I don't know the answer to that. I can't compare.
Kevin? So, City Attorney, do you know that answer?
I don't know the answer to that either. I suspect probably because since the county was the intermediary, we just may not have that information. Since the previous agreement was with the county, I'm sure we could get it. We don't have that information on hand, and I would be surprised if Mike doesn't.
Just curious. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Gleason.
This contract with STEML is strictly hourly. We only need them when we need them.
Yes, we use them on call. That's right.
Mayor Pro Tem.
So, do you know why the county wanted to get out of this?
No, I don't know the detail really, but I think it probably had to do with Stimmel wanting to get their fees updated.
Oh, because
I'm imagining.
as long as they stayed with the other contract, they couldn't do it, I guess. If you're satisfied with Stimmel and Stimmel's doing a good job and can get the job done when we need it done, to comply with the Falls Lake rules, I'm okay with that.
Commissioner Albright.
I'm fine with it.
All right, Commissioner Way.
Nothing but a motion to approve the agreement.
All right. Commissioner Wilkins, did you have any other questions?
No, sir. I was gonna make.
All right. At this time, we will entertain a motion to approve the new contract with Stimmel.
So move.
Commissioner Way. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
See, now I heard that.
Because I turned and yelled in your ear.
Motion carries 5-0. All right, let's see, we have no discussion items. City Manager's report.
Mr. Mayor, you may have already noticed that the CREEDMOOR Hometown Hero banners were installed last week on Main Street and will be displayed, I think Patriots Day is right around the corner, all the way through Veterans Day to honor our military veterans. The CREEDMOOR Veterans Organization will also have attended the music festival to promote the sale of veterans bricks and hero banners, so we continue to expand this program in support of fundraising for the Veterans Memorial Plaza. The CREEDMOOR Annual Employee Appreciation Day was held Thursday, August the 15th at Lake Rogers Park, and thanks to our Administrative Services Director and her team, Camille Lockley, employees enjoyed a light lunch, they enjoyed some time on the pedal boats, kayaking, walking trails, a variety of games from 11 to 2, and then back on the clock at work. So this is a event that we had missed a couple of times because of COVID, but everybody had a good time, and the mayor asked me to express his appreciation to all the employees for the outstanding service they give our citizens. A Saguasa representative expressed some possible interest in acquiring the Bowman Road Water Tower on Highway 56 east of Creedmoor. So I've asked that person who asked me to submit a letter of interest if they were serious about it, and that I would bring that matter back to the board for discussion.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Can you elaborate on that?
Would I elaborate?
Yeah.
We have a water tower on Bowman Street.
I know that. I'm talking about the, I know that. The Saguasa representative.
Elaborate, he said.
Yeah.
When the Saguasa representative expressed some possible interest in acquiring it.
Yes, sir. In a conversation between I and the executive director,
Okay.
I know we don't have a use for that. I know we continue to have to pay to maintain that, to keep it safe. So if they're interested for any reason, it makes sense for us to take this off the shelf and put that on someone else. So they might be interested, and he'll have to, of course, go to the board for a conversation, to take that down and put up a new tower to support all the growth that's coming on the eastern side of town. That gravity water that's gonna be in that tank to help feed that into town. So that's what they're thinking, but this is really early on, and it's a preliminary conversation just between me and Mr. Stroyer.
Just want a little bit more detail. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And, let's see, Finance Director Lee and I think mentioned earlier that we met with Davenport, and they will be back to this board on October 21 to give you the final version of their financial status on Creedmoor. And the final plans are underway for the 31st Annual Creedmoor Music Festival, Saturday, September the 21st. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, one quick question that I have. I am just tickled to death with the Hometown Hero banners. In fact, I got an email from my sister that a couple of her friends have seen them and want to get one for their families. I'm a little concerned about our poles, and some of them are starting to appear crowded. Between the flower, the city, the Hometown Hero, it's just getting a little crowded up there. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I'm wondering if, with the summer finishing, if maybe we can remove the flowers and shift some of it around so that, since this is a new banner that we're putting up, they're more visible.
Okay, and we could even skip a pole or two once, just kind of thin things out and spread them out along Main.
Yeah. I'd like to spread some out over by the Greenways.
Which-
Even on the Greenway side.
Which banners? Okay, I know we've got those flowers down there,
Yeah, you got the flowers down near our subdivision and down near Paddington, but I think there is some poles along the greenways, and I think some of these out here, even some with the flags on, would look nice on some of those poles out by the greenways.
okay, I'll share that with the public works director.
Even some of the hometown heroes.
Yeah, as soon as we got 9, so hopefully as this thing grows, we can keep spreading them out.
I do like the idea of the hometown heroes being on our main thoroughfare. Some of the others we can shift around and move and that type of thing, but I do like the hometown heroes, especially like the picture of Command Sergeant Major, Mike Turner. Any questions for the city manager? Any here, any down that way? All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. City Manager, the, tree overhanging the road on Whitehall Drive was trimmed back. I noticed it on Friday. Can you tell me if the HOA took care of that? I think our Public Works Department did that. I don't think the HOA did it. I'd like to find out if our Public Works had to do that one themselves.
I will have to ask the public works director, I'm not sure.
And the other question I have is there were patches of asphalt that had to be put in where Sigwas had done some repairs, and they dug up some of the road to make those patches in there. The asphalt patches that they dug up are sitting in someone's front yard. I mean, it's in the right of way, but there's a stack of asphalt there. I think it might have been forgotten. Can we possibly get that picked up?
Is there a house number on that
It's
street?
on Whitehall Drive. It's at 202, I think it is.
Okay, I'll get on it in the morning.
I've got one other thing too, on, Moss Road. Do you know where, Buzz Neville lives?
No, I knew where you lived at present.
Yeah, this is,
Okay, I don't.
if you come from the high school, you make that curve, and as you're about halfway up, there's a speed limit sign for 35 miles an hour that's got the tree growth is around it, that you can't even see it until you're almost on top of it.
Got it.
I didn't know if we need to do that or DOT, but I would like it cleared out enough where once you make that curve, you can see the sign.
We'll take care of that.
That way, when the students are racing up that road, they'll know how fast they're going. All right, Commissioner Way, Mayor Pro Tem, Sigwasser report.
The Mayor Pro Tem got that under her control this time around.
Okay. So at our July 15 meeting, during public comment, a Creedmoor resident expressed his concern for the quality of water in Creedmoor. After his comments, I stated that I would see what could be done to get an auto flusher placed close to his home. It had been discussed with former Commissioner Ed Mims and I in the past, and since this resident felt that his water quality was better when the line was flushed, I would like to see if an auto flushing device would help to maintain the water quality. The next morning at 8:15, I spoke to Mr. Schroyer, and as promised, and I'm glad to say that on Monday, August 26th, Sigwassa installed the auto flusher across from that resident's home. The Lake Road pump station equipment has been delayed due to supply issues. I got an update this afternoon from Mr. Schroyer saying it should be done within the next 30 days. That's not acceptable to me since we were told it would be done by the end of August. And tomorrow morning, I will be on the phone again with Mr. Schroyer to tell him that the citizens of Creedmoor should not be penalized. I don't understand why these projects are falling behind. I don't believe in my heart that there are supply chain issues, but that's what they're saying is there are equipment delays. That's what I've got.
All right. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Wilkins.
Well, yesterday, Labor Day, I attended the Pecan Hill Annual Reunion, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Albright.
I attended the CPRC meeting on August 15th, and we agreed that we would meet bi-monthly. So our next meeting will be October 17th at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Way?
Nothing to report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Gleason?
I just want to say again, thank you for the, banners. They look very nice on Main Street. And I have 2 additional orders that will be going in before the end of this week.
Yeah, it's on your,
I attended a class at UNC presented in Lewis,
like after that.
last week, working together as a board. I happened to sit next to the new mayor of Oxford in the class, and again, it was a workshop on how to build trust and faith in one another as a board, and how, I must say that this board got a fairly good representation by me as we work together. It was a very good class. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem?
So, I attended the, Pecan Hill reunion again yesterday, and it was amazing. I met people that I had not met before. They were accepting, and as they always should be, and it was a very pleasant, I felt like family. I felt welcomed, the mayor, the city manager, Commissioner Wilkins and I, and the history of why we were there was to present this community board. At the August 15th, 2022 meeting of the Board of Commissioners, then interim city manager Michael Frangos and Christopher Horrigan presented to the board the project that the Pecan Hill Board had brought to the city and asked for financing for that. And Mr. Frangos and Mr. Horgan suggested that their idea was not financially, it wouldn't last as long as it should, and they wanted to come up with a better idea. So Commissioner Mims at that time requested a total cost for the project. And it took off from there, and to see that it finally got done two years later, Christopher Horgan started with it, Dennis finished it up, and Dennis did a great job. They were very pleased with Dennis's work. The board looked beautiful, and as soon as the board was unveiled, the sun came out. It had been raining all morning, and as soon as the board was unveiled, the sun came out. So I was there because we didn't know if the mayor was going to make it back, and I'm hoping that next year we will all be invited to that, and we can go. But the stories and the family, the camaraderie, the fellowship, it was a beautiful ceremony. I'm sorry that everybody wasn't invited. I really am, because it was very interesting.
Thank you, ma'am. Mayor's report, I've been out of town. I did attend the Pecan Hill. They're interested, and we need to start looking into possibility of outdoor facilities down there. I know that's been brought up before, but let's revisit it, see if it's feasible or what we may need to do. I agree, there was a lot of stories. I saw a lot of folks down there that remember my dad and told stories before that. I saw some of them's grandchildren, which really makes me feel old. That, I knew when they were little, and I knew their parents and that type of thing, and it just was real heartwarming to have the whole thing that went on. I'm very proud of the efforts the city has made for Harris Park and the folks down in Pecan Hill, because they do take a lot of pride in their community. Is there anything else we need to do today's meeting?
I would just like to,
Commissioner Way.
I was very impressed by the history plaque that was put at Harris Park, what I observed. There was a lot of information and things that I never knew. It was good to read. I would like to see something like that in other parts of Creedmoor, because we are in a community full of history, and a lot of those people that tell those stories aren't here, and the ones that knew the stories are getting older. So I'd like to see some of those type of plaques in different locations around town to give people something to look at and read while they're walking, maybe the Greenway, or maybe while they're walking down the sidewalk. Just, something visual, has a little bit of the story about maybe one of the buildings.
The old town, whatever, yeah.
I think there's a lot of history, and our goal is to make Creedmoor a little bit more family-friendly and walkable with shops and things like that. And what better thing to do when we're having festivals and stuff like that is to have those type of visual plaques with the history information so people know where we've come from to where we are today.
Have to erect a statue of the mayor, like the Cowardly Lion.
Yeah, that would be a profit. Mr. Gleason, anything else? Mayor Pro Tem.
So you mentioned about the outdoor facilities at Harris Park. Since we are in the middle of this budget year, I would ask that the city manager put it in the CIP for next year, so we can put it into next year's budget. We've got enough to do in this calendar year and it can't be done that much faster anyway, but I would like to see it be worked into the CIP for next year so we could include it in next year's budget.
But it wouldn't hurt to look into it.
He's got enough to do.
No, he doesn't.
Mr. Mayor?
Mike told me that he had plenty of free time.
I actually discussed it at a staff meeting today with staff and asked them to begin looking and thinking about ideas on what we need.
Push it off.
Water allocation and construction.
Commissioner Wilkins.
I was just gonna say, let's not push it off.
Yeah, we don't have to build it this year.
Right.
But I think we can start doing some groundwork on it. Okay, before I adjourn, I want to remind the board, in preparation for our work session, in a couple of weeks, be sure I have the forms returned to me that are pertinent to that meeting. All right, and I would like them to have at least a week ahead if I can. All right, this time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's made by Commissioner Wilkins. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0, and I want y'all to notice it is 7:30, which I believe was the mayor's prediction.
Good night, family.
Good night.